Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from ChillTCG. Today we're going to be looking at the championship winning deck list that was piloted by Bruno Arruda, which he used to win the Chill Series number 14 tournament this past Wednesday, which had just about 260 players. It was a massive tournament, our biggest Chill Series of all time, and he was running a really cool Excadrill deck list that seemed to be a very good meta call, especially with the lower amount of ADP players that we had last tournament. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this deck list. I'm very interested and very excited to take a look at a list like this. We don't always see decks that aren't meta decks win these big tournaments, so it's really cool to see a deck list like this have a lot of success, or at least some success, right, for our one tournament. Bruno, he had a really good run. I believe in the finals he ran up against an Eternatus, and there was the most played deck was Pigrum in the tournament, so I think that this deck list has a really good matchup against most decks, especially decks that aren't teching for things like Altaria, or decks that are weak to fighting types, which there's definitely a lot of. I think the most played decks were Pigrum and Eternatus, so again, this was a very good meta call for the tournament. We're going to just get right into it and take a look. Again, in no particular order, this deck is focused around Excadrill. This is the one from Cosmic Eclipse. I only have two of the different arts, so we're just going to have to deal with it. I guess we'll take a look at this one. So Excadrill is a really cool card if you guys don't know it already. It's got a retreat cost of 4, which is nuts. HP 140 for a stage 1 Pokemon. Nothing too crazy, but its attacks are actually really cool and really fast paced. So that first attack there, 11th hour tackle, it does 30 plus 150 more if there's 3 or fewer cards in your deck, which means that potentially this card could, can be one-hit KOing, even the biggest Dark-type Pokemon in the game, Eternatus VMAX, which is definitely very powerful. But that second attack there, Drilbur Bazooka does 120, and then you discard the top 4 cards of your deck. So, 120, of course, hits super effective against Pikarum, does 240 and gets the one-hit KO, right? So a very cool card. We also have a few other cards in this deck to modify and increase the damage of Excadrill, but otherwise it's a very good single prize attacker right now for the format, which is heavily dominated by things like Eternatus VMAX and Pikarum. So I like this card a lot. It's definitely super cool. We run the Drilburs to go into it. It just seems to be the best Drilbur that we have. I think probably the one with the most HP. But again, nothing too crazy. That Rototiller attack can actually be pretty useful at times, but it's not a big deal at all. And then next up, in this deck, we have a 4-4 lineup of those, but we're paired with Altaria from Champion's Path. Now, you guys probably know Altaria. It's a newer card here. We play it for that ability, so you prevent all damage from this Pokemon, or done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's V or GX Pokemon. So pretty much any Stage 2 or Stage 3 Pokemon that you're going to be going up against, it's going to be immune to damage from it. In most decks these days, that's the Pokemon that they're running. Of course, we see this in Decidueye. Decidueye is a very popular card as well, has the same ability, but Altaria works much better in this deck list for sure. We have a few sort of things in this deck thrown in so that we cannot, deck out, or it makes it a lot harder for us to deck out. We have 1 Phione. We also have 4 Ordinary Rods and 2 Pal Pads, right? We'll get into that later, but Altaria, very good against those matchups where you don't really have any attackers that are too useful, like Excadrill might not be too useful against things like Scorch or Welder decks, or maybe things like ADP, or really any deck that's teching for Altaria or has cards that can deal with Altaria. Altaria can be really good. It might be a kind of a way to stall out the game, right? But again, Excadrill is able to do some serious damage, so it's I think these two cards actually go really well together. It's interesting because Altaria and Decidueye are typically played to be sort of these wall decks, and Excadrill is more of like a really fast-paced single prize attacker. So it's cool to see 2 very different types of cards paired with each other in this deck. It also gives it a lot of flexibility. You can take 2 different paths during your game. You can either lock your opponent out of the game, or you can just go ahead and get some fast-paced knockouts with Excadrill, right? So those are the 2 primary cards in this deck, but we are also running Minccino and Cinccino. We run 2 Swablus as well. This is the same one from Champion's Path. Not too interesting, although that Peck can come in clutch with 20 damage. Okay, yeah. So then we're running Cinccino, which, of course, this deck has a strong emphasis around single prize Pokemon. Cinccino is a very good single prize Pokemon to draw cards and mill through your deck, as quickly as possible. Make Do is the ability that we're going to be using. Of course, we can use Energy Assist, but it's just not something that we're typically going to be using if you don't have to, I guess. But the ability Make Do You must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability, and then once during your turn, you get to draw 2 cards. So this works if you have multiple Cinccinos on your bench. You can use it twice, 3 times, however many are on your bench. But you discard a card from your hand, draw 2. So it's just sort of a good way to consistently draw cards through your deck. If you can set these up early on your bench, then you're going to be having a much better time. And then we have the Minccino here from Sword and Shield base set with 70 HP. So those are the 3 Pokemon that the deck is pretty much based around. It's the majority of the Pokemon in this deck. We are running 22 Pokemon, which is definitely pretty large. But we are running some 2-prize Pokemon. Of course, we do have Dedenne. If we need to put that on the bench to go through our deck, of course, it's always useful for those times where you just need to draw some more cards, get rid of your hand. We have Oricorio-GX, of course, also can be really good. If you can Dedenne and Oricorio in one turn, potentially draw 9 cards, could be the difference between finding that 1 or 2 cards that you need at the end of the game or not, right? So very important. Not always, in a lot of matchups, we won't always be playing these cards, especially not if we don't have to. But again, they're good options for sure. With a deck list like this, you don't want to play too many 2-prize Pokemon. And you don't want to play definitely any 3-prize Pokemon, right? You want to win the prize race. So it's important that you don't play these cards every game probably, but if you do need them, they're there, and that's what's important. And then we are running a Mew from this is the promo one, but I forget, it might be from Team Up. I forget, or Unbroken Bonds. This Mew, it has that really good ability, Bench Barrier, so you prevent all damage done to your benched Pokemon by your opponent's attacks. Now, specifically, this is a really good tech for Pikarom. This means that your opponent cannot Tag Bolt GX you, which is very important. That means that if they want to knock out your Dedenne or Oricorio or any of your Pokemon, they're going to have to do it while they're in the active spot. So it's a very good tech for things like Pikarom, but there's also other Pokemon in the meta right now that are less popular that do bench damage. Cards like Decidueye actually do bench damage. Not Dragapult, he does damage counters. I think Inteleon does bench damage, and I think Galarian Darmanitan VMAX does bench damage. But Mew, otherwise, it's very good. It's good in a lot of single prize decks because you don't want your opponent to take multiple KOs. It's very important. So we do have a Mew in there, and then of course we have a Phione. So Whirlpool Suction, once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may make your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon, so they get to choose, but then you put this card on the bottom of your deck. So this means that that ability can be really useful, switching your opponent out of the active spot, but at the same time, it's always going to go back on the bottom of your deck, so you can never run out of cards, technically, right? Unless it gets discarded or knocked out, but so Phione, also a really cool card in this deck. That's the 22 Pokemon that we run. We run 31 trainers as well. We have plenty of Pokemon Search, so we do have 4 Great Balls and 4 Quick Balls. So plenty of Pokemon Search. We also have 3 Pokemon Communication. So, there's a lot of different Pokemon in this deck. There's a lot of Pokemon in general. So, you want to find those Pokemon as consistently as possible. So, plenty of Pokemon Search, a total of 11 Pokemon Search cards. We also have a Great Catcher. Great Catcher, of course, is cool because you discard cards from your hand, and this deck likes to go through its deck very quickly. So that's important, but also, it's very cool because you can play other things like Hapu or Research into it, and then you still get that Gust effect. And of course, Excadrill, it's important to note that Excadrill is getting the one-hit KOs on Dedennes, on Crobats, right? So that's a very viable strategy for this deck, bossing up or gusting up those 2-prize Pokemon that are oftentimes going to be on pretty much every on the bench of every deck that you're playing against. Being able to one-hit KO those with a single prize Pokemon, very good, right? And that's also a very valid strategy. So we run 3 gusting options in total, which means that, particularly in a game, if you get the 3 gusts off and you get the 3 KOs on 2-prize Pokemon, then that's 6 prizes and you win the game. So I think that a Great Catcher in this deck is smart. Every deck pretty much is running Dedenne, so I think that's where that Great Catcher comes in handy. And things like Eternatus won't be, but that's fine. You have a pretty good matchup against Eternatus anyway. He's running 4 Ordinary Rods. This is to shuffle the energies and the Pokemon back into your deck. This can be really useful just to make sure that you don't struggle to find your Excadrills or your Altarias later in the game. You can shuffle them back into your deck periodically, and that way you always have your deck full of the cards that you need. Also shuffles energy, and we only run 7 energy in this deck, so it's definitely something that you're definitely not going to want to be discarding lightly, right? So Ordinary Rod, very important. We run 4 of those, the most that we can. And then similarly, we are running 2 Pal Pads to get 2 supporters back from our discard pile into our deck. We are running a pretty heavy supporter count. We run 11 supporters and all of them are going to be very important, especially things like boss or your draw supporters. So yeah, Pal Pad definitely really good. Similar idea, right? You just a lot of times, if you're discarding cards really quickly through your deck, then a lot of times you're going to want to get them back later in the game. So 4 ordinary rods and 2 Pal Pads. For stadiums, we're running 2 martial arts dojos. So I think that any deck right now should be running at least like 1 or 2 stadiums. And I think the best stadium for this deck is martial arts dojo. I know there's a lot of chaotic swells in a lot of decks these days, but especially in things like Eternatus and in Pikarum as well, if you can get it off. This helps you do 10 more damage, but if you're behind on prize cards, you do 40 more damage, which is actually nuts. And this is before applying weakness and resistance, right? So this means that not only, are you doing 240 with that 120 attack, but potentially you could be doing, 160, and that's enough to knock out anything, right? If you're hitting for super effective. Very important. So this stadium can be the difference between you getting some really important knockouts. And also, even if you're just doing 130, if it's just 10 extra, then you are getting the 1-hit KO on Raichu, Alolan Raichu, tag team, which is very important as well, right? So a very good stadium card for this deck against Swell. Makes things difficult, but if you're not running up against Swell, then this is definitely going to be a very important card for you. And a lot of times you probably will be behind on prize cards, right? Especially like after that, or before you get that first KO. A lot of times, like he might knock out 1 or 2 of your single prize Pokemon, and then you come in and you get a big old KO on a 3 prize Pokemon, and then all of a sudden you're ahead on the prize race. So, it comes in clutch all the time, all the time. Now on to the supporters. We run 2 boss, similarly, with the Great Catcher. That's 3 gusting options. I don't know if running 3 boss would be better than running 2 in a Great Catcher. I guess that's up to you. 2 bosses orders. It's in every deck. It's one of the best cards. So why wouldn't you be playing it? And he's actually running 3 Hapu. Hapu's not a card that you typically see in a lot of decks, but in this deck it's actually really good. So you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put 2 of them in your hand, and then just discard the rest of them. So this is actually a really good supporter card to sort of discard cards in your deck quickly, to go through your deck quickly, because like I said with Excadrill's attack there at the 11th hour tackle, it will get the 1-hit KO on anything that's weak to it if you have 3 or less cards in your deck. So the more often that you're able to go down to a low amount of cards in your deck, the more often that you might be able to get those big hit KOs, especially in the late game. Hapu is going to help you get to that point. Things like Minccino will help you get to that point, as well as like just all the Pokemon search and Professor's research as well. So Hapu, really cool. And in this deck, you really, again, like you want to be playing probably a draw supporter every turn on top of like Minccinoing once or twice, because there's a lot of Pokemon and there's a lot of item cards that you want to get to in this deck. So I think Hapu's really cool. And we also have 2 Marnies and 4 research. Everyone knows what they do. So plenty of ways to draw cards in this deck. And it's something that you want to be doing every turn. That way at the end of the game, if you have the option, right, you can get that big hit doing 180 damage. So 7 energies, like I said before. This is a very cool deck list. We've seen Excadrill have some success in the past. It's not a card that typically too many people play, but it seems to pop up every now and then. See some success and then kind of fly back under the radar. But I think this is probably, in my opinion, one of the best ways to play the deck, especially with ADP becoming banned in a lot of tournaments these days. I know it's popping up all over Limitless. Even Limitless themselves are banning ADP. So without ADP and without people really teching for things like Altaria, I think that this card has a really good spot right now in the meta. Of course, without ADP, people are just going to be playing a lot of Pikarom, playing a lot of Eternatus. Because of that, I feel like Excadrill has a really good spot, being a really good single prize fighting type attacker. The math works out a lot of times. And I think that right now it's a really smart pick, especially if you're looking to play probably like a more budget deck or just sort of a single prize deck in general that has that hits super effective against the best cards and the best decks in the meta. So I don't really have too much else to say about this deck list. It was a quick video. Again, these deck lists, I try to keep them a little bit short. Big shout out to Bruno Arruda. He had a really interesting few games there in the finals and throughout the tournament as well. So If you guys are interested in watching some gameplay with this deck, I did post the Grand Finals video. It's on my channel, so definitely just go check out that video. It was a best of 3 match. You get plenty of gameplay and plenty of time here to to understand how the deck list works. So I'm not going to be playing it myself because I'm not that good. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up for the video, guys. So before we go, I want to let you guys know that the Chill Series number 15 is coming on Wednesday, the next Wednesday, which I believe is the 6th, I think. Yeah, it's on the 6th. So if you guys are looking to play and compete in ptcgo in the Pokemon trading card game online, then definitely go check it out, guys. It's our biggest prize pool in Chill Series history. Not only do we have 300 Vivid Voltage packs in the prize pool, but we have $250 cash, and that's not all. It's free to play, like 100% free to play. You just go on Limitless, click register, type in your deck list, whatever it might be, and boom, you're ready to play, and you might win, up to $100 cash and dozens of Vivid Voltage packs, as well as free entry into the $3,000 regional tournament that me and GG Tour will be running at the end of the month. So the prize pool is massive. Up to top 32 get prizing. It's going to be a fantastic tournament, and if you guys haven't registered for it already, I highly suggest that you go register. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys, enjoy these deck lists videos. I know that you guys can just go on Limitless and look up these deck lists yourselves, but for new players or people that enjoy just sort of watching videos on new deck lists, I hope that, this one caught your eye or that, you were at least a little bit interested in it. But let me guys, let me know in the comment section below, what do you like about this deck list? What would you change about it? Is this something that you would play, something you wouldn't play? Just let me know. I'm definitely going to be really interested to see what you guys think. So that's going to be it for me. So I'm going to check out, and I will see you guys soon.